We're here with Aryk Crowder walking down Kinsey. Singer-songwriter, hell of a guitar player from what I can tell listening to his music so far.
Thanks, man.
You just released your first debut, kind of, EP.
First acoustic EP, yeah.
First acoustic EP. Ready Set
Did that
is the single from a little while back.
Yeah, that was the EP I released last May. May of 2010.
May of 2010. That's the one, all the songs are on MySpace.
Yep. MySpace, website, Facebook. Pretty much, I try to make sure my music gets up everywhere where people go, you know?
And you're coming up, you got a show here on Thursday at the Double Door.
Yeah, we're playing with a couple really good Chicago locals. A band called Origin of Animal, Anna Solstice, great Chicago artist, and a pretty fresh band called Kick the Record that I got asked on the bill by one of their band members. So they asked me on the bill, and I said, oh, for sure. So like, it's great to get on a lineup with a ton of great Chicago talent that's gonna put on a really good show.
Yeah, speaking of Origin of Animal, I was watching a video earlier today where I saw you doing a blues cover of Nine Inch Nails' Closer. How did you think to do a blues cover of that particular song?
I mean, I can't take complete credit for it. I heard another artist do a similar thing, and then and I kind of brought it to my band, and even though my focus is on writing original music, there's too many other good songs with it that I really love and really enjoy playing to not do it. And I thought if we could put our little spin on that and kind of bring it out, where we kind of have a what the hell moment at our show. And people, it's one of those things where you hear it and you're like, you can't really tell what song it is until the vocals come on. And you're like, oh, that's it. So that was one of the reasons we decided to cover that.
Now you call it soul pop.
Yeah, I mean, it's not pop, it's not rock, and I wouldn't classify it as soul music, but it's all those three genres have a huge influence on like how I sing and how I play and how I write. So
yeah, the first time I heard your voice when I was listening to Ready Set, the first thing that came to my mind was Johnny Lang. Maybe because you're a white guy and it was bluesy, and that's just the first thing that I thought of.
I can see that.
And the other one that popped into my mind.
I appreciate the compliments. I'm not one of those people that try to shy away from it. If somebody wants to compare me to an artist that they really dig and respect and that's really good, who am I to deny that? Even if I don't like that artist, if they view me as somebody that they like and respect, that's great, man. I dig it.
Well, the other name that popped into my mind was Michael McDonald. The Motown singer.
I'm gonna have to refute that statement, as I try not to make every word I say end with the letter R. So
now your mother was in a country band.
Yeah. So growing up, I used to go sit in the garage and watch her and her band play, and she was a singer for a country band. So yeah, I grew up watching her, and I can clearly remember instances I'd be just sitting on top of the bass amp watching the whole band play, and I really didn't think much of it. I was 7 or 8 years old at the time, and I didn't think much of it. But looking back, I can tell that was most likely a definite influence. And it's not the fact that I wanted to sing and play country music, but I would go to my mom's shows, and they'd be booking these huge festivals. And granted, they were a country cover band, but there'd be tons of people out there, and I wanted that. I thought it was cool, My mom was up there singing, all these people were loving it, they were out there dancing and having a good time, and I loved it, and I couldn't really know how to put it into anything else. I didn't know how to play an instrument at the time. I didn't really know, but I can definitely credit that as a huge influence.
And how old were you when you started picking up the guitar?
I was 15 when I started. I remember asking my parents for one for quite a while before they finally broke down and bought me one. And I was definitely that kid who came straight home from school and picked up the guitar and didn't put it down until I was forced to go to bed. So it was that was definitely a huge part of my adolescence, is just learning music, playing music, and just being completely obsessed with it.
And what was do you remember the first song that you wrote?
Oh my God, no. No, man. I remember the first few songs I wrote, but I think the first band I was in, I used to play. So I grew up listening to like Rage Against the Machine and Wu-Tang Clan, and I mean I grew up in that whole like genre of that stuff. So I mean the first band I was in was like a hip hop rock band. So we had like a rapper for a front man, and we were basically like hard blues rock kind of stuff, because I was still really digging like Hendrix and Stevie Ray, but then like Tom Morello came along and like Korn started becoming really huge, and so I was really influenced by like players like that when I was 16 years old. So I can clearly remember some of the first few songs I wrote, but not necessarily the first one. No.
Why did you choose to come to Chicago instead of other cities like Milwaukee or even like Indianapolis or St. Louis?
I don't know. Maybe it's kind of a given. I grew up growing up, an hour and a half, 2 hours north of Chicago. People look at Chicago as a big music town, and it's the closest town with tons of connections. And being here, not only is it a really good scene, and it allows me to be, when I go tour, it decides me to be within pretty much 12-hour drive of any major city in the Midwest. But I'm so close to my family. All my friends are here, and it's a great town, man. I mean, there's New York and LA and Nashville, obviously, but this is where my roots are at. And so I've got no reason to be anywhere else.
And speaking of touring, you got a lot of shows coming up.
Yeah.
Not just the Double Door, but you're doing some stuff, I think up in Wisconsin, some other shows around Illinois.
Yeah, doing a couple shows outside of Milwaukee and Madison. Going down to Kentucky next month. A great little R&B joint. And so yeah, my manager's done a really good job of keeping the schedule full and keep me on the road and get me in front of people, which is what I love doing. Recording is great. I love getting my stuff on record, being able to get it in people's hands, but it doesn't compare to playing live at all.
Yeah. Now that this EP's dropped and you're starting your tour,
yeah,
do you like to wait a little while before you go back and start recording, or are you always writing songs?
I mean, at this point in my career, it's not like a major label artist where they sit down and write a chunk of songs for an album. So it's a constant process. There's no like, oh, well, I'm going to do an album in a year and a half, so in like 9 months I need to sit down and start writing 20, 30 songs to get on this album. It's like whenever it hits me. And I have to say I hate it when I go 3 months without writing a song. I feel useless. I feel like I'm not doing anything. But then all of a sudden comes times where I'll go for 3 weeks and pump out 10 songs just because ideas keep coming, things keep coming. And so it works out kind of interesting like that.
Yeah, how often do you write a song, maybe let's say you're writing it and you're thinking, oh, this is going great, then you're almost about to record it and you think, no, this isn't going to work.
You got going along the lines of, we're all our own worst critic. That happens far more often than I actually care to admit, but I've got a really good band behind me. My bandmates are pretty much my family. Even though it's, I'm a solo act, I've been playing with my band for quite some time, and I really trust their opinion, and I trust how they write and how they help me create. So a lot of the times I'll have like the bare bone structure of like a simple demo at home. I'll lay bass and guitar tracks and vocals over a drum recording and present it to them, and it'll take a much different shape when my drummer, my bass player, and my keyboard player gets a hold of it. And more things will come out, things will change, parts will, they'll morph into how the song should be, not just how I originally created.
Have you ever been afraid to show them one? Or nervous that they weren't going to like it?
No, because we're not at that point anymore. The relationships aren't so fresh to where I'm scared of their judgment. They know that what I write, they know I'm not going to write something that's just going to be complete trash. They know I'm not going to write something that's just going to be complete trash. They know if I bring something to the table to them, it's going to be something that's complete and ready to be, it's just a design. It's not necessarily the final product, across the street here.
Yeah. Do you have any Chicago artists or Chicago influences that would that you'd like to work with here in the future?
I think the word influence is a tricky word. You know, influence to me says that is shaping your songwriting. What shapes my songwriting is, you know, the things that happen in my life. You know, the people I talk to, the relationships I have. You know, those are the things that influence me. I tend to go with the word inspiration a little more than the word influence. There's a ton of musicians here in Chicago that influence me, you know, on a daily, if not, you know, weekly basis. Some of them are my tightest friends. I really respect their writing and playing, and these are the guys that I look at and that I get inspired from, and it pushes me to be better. When I was growing up, when I started playing, that's one thing that inspired me to be better a lot. I'd go to the music store and try to play with all the expensive things that I didn't think I could ever afford, and I would hear, and I thought I'd be pretty good, and all of a sudden I see somebody else come along and they play better than I did. I couldn't have that. It's kind of like my competitive nature. And so I would go home and it'd make me practice even more and want to be better and want to learn how they did and take what they did and do it even better. So, I mean, there's definitely, the list is far too long to start spouting off names.
That might have been the longest train I've ever seen in my life.
That's what she said.
Now that we have that out of the way, the EP dropped.
Yeah, last Friday did put out a couple tracks of just live acoustic performances. Wanted to really take like a acoustic essence and stuff. Because most of my stuff, I love playing with my band. I love the full band. That's my forte. That's where I'm at. But we've been doing a handful of shows here that are just acoustic. And so I thought, why not get in the studio and get these done in one take acoustic live tracks. I wanted that intimacy, that live feel, but without having the whole live perspective. I basically just got in the studio, grabbed a couple mics, and sat down in the room and just recorded everything. So basically what you hear is one take of a song.
That's a very good idea. I wish more bands would do that.
Yeah, I wish more bands wouldn't do that too. I think, it's not for everybody either, and I definitely had a hard time taking these songs and putting them down in an acoustic format. It wasn't the easiest thing. I probably wrote several of them, gave several of them a few different versions before I landed on an acoustic version that I really liked. Because when I write songs, I write it for guitar. I don't just sit down with acoustic all the time and write a song.
Alright, so that's out now. MySpace, Facebook, iTunes, the whole nine.
Yeah, you can get everything you can get from my site at arykrcrowder.com.
And the Double Door on Thursday.
Double Door Thursday night, yeah.
Absolutely be there. And
that's gonna be a good time, man. We've got a couple new songs that I've polished off in the last few weeks we're gonna put out. Got some new stuff we're gonna give away, and yeah, man, it's gonna be really good. Got a lot of really good bands in the bill. And, yeah, it's gonna be a good time.
Yeah,
one of the best venues in the city.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Oh, thank you.
Aryk Crowder. Thanks to Aaron Sorkin for letting us use this format. And check it out Thursday.